It is now time to talk etiquette. Joining me is the expert herself, Julie Blais Comeau. How does one become an etiquette expert?
Well, first of all, you are very, very gauche. I was very gauche when I was young, Sarah. And people would look at me, and I was always marginalized. So I said, enough of that. So I started to learn about it and read about it. And then I went to get certified by the Protocol School of Washington.
Okay, so there it is. And we will be speaking to you a little bit later in the morning as well. But at the moment, we are focusing on afternoon tea.
Yes, and you know, you're calling it afternoon tea, and it should be. People often make the mistake of calling it high tea. And interestingly enough, high tea is what is served to all the laborers coming back from the field. So high tea would be served on a high table, and it included things like mutton, bread, and cheeses, sort of like a buffet, and it was served at about 5 o'clock. So that's not high tea. When you think, oh, I'm going to go to the chateau and have high tea, well, you're going to the chateau to have afternoon tea or low tea.
Okay. Now, where did the drink itself, tea, originate from?
Yeah, well, let's go back in time. Let's go back to 2737.
Wow.
Yes, before Christ. And there was this emperor, Emperor Shannon, and he wasn't feeling that well. So he was sitting under a tree, and he had asked one of his servants to bring him some hot water that had been boiled, you know, to ease his stomach. And he's sitting there, and there's this little shrub, and down comes a little leaf into the boiled water, and he thought, this is quite fragrant. And then he tasted it. So that's the origin of tea, 2737 before Christ.
Completely accidental.
Completely accidental and still popular. 20,000 cups are served per second.
Around the world?
Around the world.
Incredible. Okay, so let's get into proper etiquette when drinking and serving tea.
Yes. Well, first of all, I came with my hat. And with my hat, I'm okay for afternoon tea. So a lady is allowed to wear a hat until about 6 p.m. indoors, as long as she can still make eye contact and she's not hindering anyone's view. And I'm sure that some of you at home are thinking, you know, when you go to the Kentucky Derby, Sarah, and you have these elegant hats, but sometimes the person behind you can't see.
Yes.
So this one would be okay. So we would go and we would have tea. So we would have our teacups, and some people ask the big question, pinky up or pinky down?
Right, so what is the answer?
Well, let's go back once again when they started to make the teacups. It didn't have the handle on the side. So without the handle on the side, let me just flip it around, I'd have to put my thumb at 6 and bring my other fingers here, but to balance it out, I would need to put my pinky up. So these days, we have that little handle, and you don't loop your finger in it. You just bring it around and you hold it. Okay. So no pinky up.
No pinky up, okay.
No pinky
up. Now,
up.
you mentioned to me that there is some symbolism behind which direction the spout of the teapot is facing.
Yes, yes. And you know, sometimes we teach our young children not to point at people. So if I had my teapot pointing at you today, it would be very, very impolite. So as the host, as the hostess, you want to be careful about where the teapot spout ends up being. So you don't want it pointing at your guest, probably towards the outside or even towards yourself after you finish serving the tea.
Okay. Now, the proper way to eat a crumpet.
Yes.
Or a scone, rather.
The scones, it's a little bit like when we have that dinner roll. You know, when you go out for dinner, that dinner roll, you don't open it up and you don't spread it on, just like when you have that little craving at midnight, you know. So you will just go and you will take one little piece at a time. So just one piece at a time, because Sarah, the goal of afternoon tea is to be able to enjoy each other, catch up on what's happening in your world, my world, and then you would butter it up, and then you bring it in. So you're just 2 bitefuls, you know, away from
and
talking.
Politely snacking, as opposed to buttering the entire thing and stuffing it into your mouth.
Absolutely.
Now,
absolutely.
Our etiquette expert, Julie, is not going anywhere. You'll be joining us later in the morning. What will you be sharing with us at that point?
Well, the thermometer's going up, right? So 31, 33, 36. So we're going to talk about heat wave at the office, at the pool, at the beach, do's and don'ts.
Do's and okay, good. With this weather, it's very relevant.